Actually, it's my fortune to be with the world family. Of course, it's happening from Turkey, but I'm also seeing so many people join from so many different places. This is lovely for a good excuse to meet the world family. Of course, these days we meet them everywhere, many Zoom calls and talks. But thanks to the Turkish family for arranging this and to Brother Yogesh. I know that he was going to be away, but thank you, Maria, for the wonderful introduction and intervention in introducing. And, the first thing I want to say is when we meet together like this as God's family, godly family, that in itself for me is a way to fly high. Sometimes you would have noticed how you feel when you are alone, in certain situation. And as soon as 2 or 3 people join you, how you feel different. I think many of you must have experienced that it immediately uplifts you, immediately makes you feel light. And so thank you for this gathering and this talk arrangement. When Baba says fly high, I used to always say, what does that mean? Does it mean that you forget about everything on this level? Or how do you lose touch with reality? Because there are many ways to do that, right? Medicines, drugs, this, that. But when Baba says fly high, I think he is referring to a very high stage, a spiritual stage. And that spiritual stage, even though it may seem like very far from the ground, but it's also very connected with the ground, I feel. And connected because you're not losing touch with reality, but you're just kind of minimizing or changing the size of whatever situation you are in. Right? How when you fly high, you know that you're going to land again, correct? But just for the time of the flight, you feel yourself that you're not on the ground. You don't have to be concerned with what's happening in the traffic downstairs and all of that. So we were talking about flying high, and I was saying it doesn't mean that we lose touch with reality, right? But our connection with reality becomes very elevated, right? For example, even when you are flying high, right, on your flight, now you know that you're not stuck in traffic, right? And at that time, you don't have to think about traffic, but you know that there is traffic there, right down there. So you're aware of that traffic. It's just that it's not affecting you at that time. And not only that, but the flight is taking you to the place that you could have gone in no time, without the traffic. It was funny one time, I was on a flight, trying to take off, and we were waiting for the pilot. And the pilot did not show up, for quite a long time. So the flight was delayed. And when he finally came, guess what happened? What was the reason he came late? He was stuck in traffic. So when I heard that, it was like a joke for me. Here's a person flying his, flight, he's a master of his flight. And even to get to that flight, he had to go through traffic, right? So there are times in our life when we do have to go through that ground traffic. But there are many times that we don't have to be stuck in traffic, that we can take off. And this is what Baba means when he says fly high. Because we always think limited, right? We always think based on the physical situation. Maybe this, maybe not this, maybe this will happen, maybe that will happen. But we don't think beyond that. We don't think that we have an influence that is beyond the physical. And Baba is actually telling us that the soul is super influential. It has influence on the body, it has influence on people, it has influence on nature, right? And we all must have tried it sometime or the other. As for example, especially when the body goes through something, right? And we think so much about, oh, what is it going to be? We start worrying about it. What if this happens? What if this doesn't happen? So all these are what? Extra thoughts, right? Waste thoughts, negative thoughts. But on the contrary, when I hear the news, if I can immediately lift myself in my consciousness, which Baba says soul consciousness, right? Elevated consciousness, unlimited consciousness, powerful consciousness, then I can actually look from down there, from up there to down here to what is happening with the body and say, wait a minute, I'm more powerful than what's happening with the body, right? I am up there. Now, it's not always easy to do that, right? Why? Because we are stuck. We're kind of always thinking about on a physical level. And this is the practice actually that Baba wants us to have. So all the practices that he says we must have are actually to allow us to fly or rise to that height. And what I have found really is, height is very much connected with depth, right? The deeper I can go into knowledge, and I can lose myself, immerse myself in the truth and the reality of knowledge, the beauty of knowledge, the eternity of the truths that Baba is telling us, what do you think will happen? The higher I can get in my consciousness. It's a very strange thing, isn't it? When you say depth, it means, you think you're going to dive into something. But as you dive into the knowledge, or even if it is diving into yoga, experiences of yoga, what is actually happening is it allowing you to be in a very elevated consciousness. And I was struck with this, that sometimes, you try to take off, you try to take off, you try to take off, and I'm not able to take off. Why? Because we don't have enough fuel in the engine to take off. You know how much energy and fuel is needed for the rocket to take off? So if we haven't created that kind of positive energy, fuel energy, then I can't take off. And that is actually coming from the depth of the soul. The deeper I'm able to think about who I am, what I am, what I know, what I can do, what I'm beyond, who is with me, and what are my powers. And of course, these are not just superficial thoughts, but taking each one of them and going into the depth of that. So I think that churning, when Baba says churning is on one level, you can think of it just as at the same level. But while churning, what happens is you're able to get deeper and deeper into the character of the soul, the beauty of the soul, the power of the soul, the strength of the soul. So that's
sorry, they're asking for you to speak slower.
Okay. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, I forgot.
Thank you.
So it's like creating fuel to take off, to fly, when I'm able to go deeper into any particular subject, right? And in the beginning, it may seem like, oh, I'm not able to do it. How can I do it? I can only hear the words and repeat the words. No, sit with what you hear from Everyday Murli and even today morning, Baba said, you need a little solitude, right? Baba said, why Baba created Madhuban is in solitude. You can think deeply about these things. So you create your own Madhuban, right? In your own home. Can you do that? Your little corner of the house that can play like Madhuban. That can be your Madhuban or your, solitude room. Or you don't have to, but just that environment where you feel that nobody can encroach on you. Even your own duties, even your own commitments, even your own problems do not encroach on you. You're just creating your own space, right? So creating depth also allows you to fly high. The other thing that I was also thinking, when you have to fly is you have to become very light, right? Every ounce counts when you get on that plane. If you are a few ounces overweight, what do they tell you? Ma'am, you're overweight. You can't take it. Sometimes, of course, you can give money or pay for the overweight and get it on the plane. But ultimately, even that has limit, right? And why do they do that? Not just to put us through torture, but there is meaning behind it. There is principle behind it. They want to keep it light. And they want to balance that, weight from the front of the plane to the back of the plane to all of those things. So for us too, I think we need to become very light, and the lightness itself becomes a strength. It's a strength that we hold on to, and that's again a habit that we have to get into. To know that nothing is too big, nothing is too much. Why? Because who are we now, and who are we with now, and what are our powers that we have now? So if we remember that, who I am, who do I belong to, what do I have to do, right? Dadi Janki's words, who am I? I am light. Not just one light, but two lights. Baba has given us the secret of angels even. Before we didn't know what they were. Did we know who the angels were? We believed in them. We wanted them to be around for us. But now Baba says exactly who these angels are. These angels are pure souls with bodies of light, with no burden of their own. And they are able to carry the burden even of others with them. They're able to lift them, the sorrow off of the heads of so many souls. So I think we have to practice not just being light here, but also double light. Light meaning I am the soul, but also light from any kind of negative or even extra thoughts. Extra thoughts. We are so used to thinking about everything. Overthinking is the big disease of today. And I don't think we also are very exempt from that. We have to practice, thinking right, thinking less, and eventually leave it all to Baba, isn't it? So lightness in everything that we do. And I see it as not a weakness, but it's a lightness. And every time, when I end up with a headache, for example, I know that it was not necessary for me to think so much. Because our thinking is not just stops with one thought, it's then continues to what if, what if, what if. It's like a spiral that goes down, down, down. So I think it's very important for us to practice lightness in the small things of life. And the only way we can do that is trusting more and more. And we have our own self to trust, but we also have our two big friends, Baba and Brahma. Both of them are our companions. Right? Sometimes we believe in Baba, but not enough in Brahma. Sometimes we believe in Brahma, but not enough in Baba. But I always feel they're both my companions and friends. Whatever it is that I'm going through, give it to him, give it to Baba. And not only that, but he has told me that every situation is actually making you progress further. It's actually coming for your benefit. It's actually coming to make you stronger, actually. Some of the muscles we don't use enough, but given the fact that we are faced with a situation where we have to use those muscles, then only we will use the muscles. So until you're put in that situation, even physically speaking, some of the muscles, they kind of atrophy if you don't use over a long period of time. And this is what has happened throughout the cycle. Some of the abilities that we have, which is the ability to adapt, the ability to tolerate, the ability to adjust, the ability to kind of harmonize, all of these powers that we haven't used those muscles, the muscles of the soul. And so they have atrophied meaning they've kind of, lost strength. And all of a sudden now, when you're faced in a corner that you have to tolerate something, for example, in a room and with somebody, I'll tell you a funny situation. We had a little retreat at Peaceful Lake, and it was a retreat on, just intensifying our spiritual effort. Sadhana, we're calling it sadhana. We have an initiative on sadhana, spiritual endeavor. And everybody who came to that retreat, we had requested that, you should be genuinely interested in making, deep effort. So this person came, and when the person came, then she was told she had to be partnering with another sister. So she didn't know she was going to do that. So immediately she started thinking, about how is that she's not able to stay with anybody else. She cannot do her effort if she's with someone else. And immediately, it came to her. She was struck by this idea. Wait a minute. I have come here for spiritually engaging in internal efforts, right? Now, why am I bothered about what's happening around me and who is with me? So I should really use that as an opportunity to actually look even deeper inside of myself. So she learned eventually that that's the way to do it. That don't make a small thing big, but make a big thing into small. And Baba says, making a mountain into a molehill. Molehill is it's a thing. And we make it into a big mountain. And when it is into a small molehill, what do? You actually blow it into a cotton, blow it off. So these are all visual examples Baba gives. And I think, many times we just take it for whatever it's worth, but we have to actually practice in every situation, and then you see how it's easy to fly. And the most important thing, I think, for flying is that you need an open space. You need to feel that you're free in an open space. And what is our open space? Is Baba's heart. Baba's heart is our open space to fly and to get seated comfortably. Usually we think about having a seat in Baba's heart. Imagine we are so many of us seated in Baba's heart. His heart must be so huge, right? But can we feel the space? Can we feel the freedom of that space? Can we feel the love in that space? right? So I think time and again, the practice that we need to do is not to feel that I'm closed in by situations and circumstances are limiting me. No, but I am seated in Baba's heart and I'm very close to him in his virtues. I'm very close to him in what he wants me to do. I'm very close to him in understanding the knowledge that he's sharing with me. And I'm very close to him in his personality, to know that I am Baba's child. He's my mother, father, means that my personality is the same as his personality. So what does that make you do? Sit in his heart. So that kind of alikeness and love is so important for us to actually exercise and feel and experience in that moment of um, feeling like crumpled. Sometimes you feel very stuck in something or feel that there isn't enough freedom for you to do your own thing. But no, just imagine you are seated in his heart and it has an open space. It has space for everybody to grow. It's not mean that you grow and somebody else doesn't grow, but really to feel the beauty and the freedom and the love of heart space, God space. And the other part of it, I think we want to talk about is not just flying, but making others fly. It's, and sometimes you think that flying for yourself is bad enough. Now, how can I make somebody else fly? And what does it mean to make someone else fly? Sometimes I'm thinking harmonizing differences is very important. And everybody flies in a different way. Everybody doesn't fly in the same way that I fly. We are different. I'm different. You're different. But, and I'm progressing very well in my virtue. But I have to allow the other person to also progress in their virtue. And for that, this virtue has to match that virtue. This virtue has to accommodate that virtue. So we all have our own uniqueness. We all have our own speciality. But to know that, nobody is interfering with me, but I actually can help the other person next to me to fly high. And I can do that only if I myself am firmly established in my self-respect. If I am not stable in my self-respect, I feel threatened. I feel insecure. And most of the problems in Brahmin family these days is coming from insecurity. That, sometimes we want others to help us, but we want them to help and do everything the same way we do. We don't acknowledge the difference. That this person is special, this person is different, this person may have something else to offer to what I have to do. So to have an open heart to actually understand the other one, how they are doing, how they would like to do. So not to be threatened by it, not to be insecure by someone else's, because Baba's work is so huge, And now is the time that, he needs lots and lots of, cooperation from Baba, all his children, whether they're old, whether they are young. It's very important to accommodate and to assimilate and to harmonize with everyone that is on Baba's field of service, because we're all family, right? And when there is a family feeling, then it's not a matter of, oh, let me overtake this person, oh, let me overtake that person, but to really create that feeling of closeness as a family. Sometimes on the service field, the family feeling gets lost, right? because we're so stuck on, getting a program done, making sure this happens, making sure that happens. Obviously, we have to do that, but sometimes we forget that we are first and foremost Baba's. So it's always good before preparing for any program or any kind of service project for us to all come together as a family and to connect as a family. And I always say that Baba's system of coming together to listen to Murli every day, actually, even though that's the time that we feel that we are in a school and we are all students, but we're all families studying together, right? What a beautiful setting Baba has created for us. That you're all brothers and sisters, but you're also studying, to become the same. You have the same thing. So we can always give and take from what we are learning. We can always grow together. I'm remembering how one time, when Baba Abid Bapdada was giving Murli, and he always points out he says the first row, right? Those Nadis and Dadas who sit on the first row. And are you all ready? Are you ready? He says. And of course, they did not put their hand up. And then actually, a couple of them put their hand up. And then he says, are your companions ready? He asked the second question. And then some of them, the hands went down. Even it was the Adis. But for themselves, they say, yes, I'm ready, ever ready. But are your companions ready to go with you into the new world and to be with you, new kingdom? And then some of the hands went down. And I started thinking, the way Baba is preparing us. Of course, individually, we all have to get to our stage of perfection. But we also have to have this feeling of camaraderie and companionship and family and friendship through even at this time. Because if we don't create it at this time, then when will we create it in the golden age? Right? So I think it's very important to make sure that we have this feeling of family right here. And things are so much easier when you have that feeling. I've gone to so many centers or places where you can feel, of course, there's a lot of service happening, but you can also feel a lot of tension between the Sevadaris or between souls that are serving. And in other places, so much is happening and everything is kind of flowing very smoothly. You can see everybody's talking nicely to everyone and communicating whatever needs to be communicated. So of course, yes, we have to create some systems, but never really lose the feeling of being a family and, deep feelings of love, give and take of, cooperation. All these things really important for us to have to fly together. So never forget that we have to reach the destination together, fly together. And the beautiful sight when the birds fly together, right? The birds of the same feather fly together, they say. So we're all birds of the same feather, right? Which feather? God's feather, right? We all have the same feather. Even we may have slight differences. We all look so different. We are from so many different countries. We have different languages, but still we have birds of the same feather because our parent, our Baba is the same, our mother and father is the same, right? So do you feel that? It doesn't matter what you look like, doesn't matter what language, doesn't matter what culture, what religion we were born in, but we are all here to fly together. And that's why we all like to go to Madhuban, right? Because we can feel the beauty of that worldwide family that Baba has created. So a lot to say about flying for yourself, time together, and it really makes things so easy. You know, the only thing is we have to train a little bit to fly, isn't it? There needs to be a little bit of a trial, you know, in other words, teaching. The more we learn from Baba, the more we churn, the more we practice, the more we have remembrance, deep churning and remembrance. I think the feeling will be that many things are happening on this physical level, and many more things are going to happen on the level, but we can handle it. We are masters. Nothing is too much, right? And we can make big things small for myself as well as for others, so that they can also have the same feeling. I'm going to stop now, and I'm going to see if you all have anything to say or anything to ask. I know we'll be running out of time shortly. I'm sorry I had to take a few minutes off, but this is your time to interact and to say anything you would like to.
Thank you so much for your sharing. I know how busy you are, and we appreciate that you are here with us to uh, share with us so many beautiful things. And there is a question. You said about sitting Baba's heart, it's an open space, and you also said about harmonizing the sanskars as a family so we can be united, and it was very nice. But on the first part, there is a question. Is it enough just to say, I'm in Baba's heart, I'm close to him in meditation? What would cause me not feeling that when I say those words? Past karma, daily activities, belief that I need to do something to earn it?
Absolutely, very nice question. Because I know exactly what this person means. Because sometimes we say these words like it's a cliche, right? Like, we've heard it over and over again. So let's just, use Baba's heart. But Baba is who? Who's God? He's the highest on high. But at the same time, he is a soul, and he's my best friend. He's my best companion. He's my mother. He's my father. And what I have found in my, experience, of course, there may be many ways of doing it. But when I say I'm in Baba's heart, I always say, my personality or my qualities, so to speak, are just like Baba. I have consciously acted and expressed my qualities like Baba. Those are the times when I feel closest to him, and I'm sitting in Baba's heart. On the field of service, for example, there was maybe somebody's blaming you, for example, and you didn't do anything wrong, and they're trying to kind of say that you were at fault, and you're trying to prove it, but it doesn't work. But Baba many times said, where there is truth, you don't have to prove anything. You don't have to insist on proving anything. But internally that Baba knows who I am, what I am, right? So you stop working in the physical level about proving it to another person. But you are so content knowing that Baba knows that you are following the truth, isn't it? So you have already created that relationship with him, that he knows what's in your heart and you know what's in Baba's heart. Now that forms a very close relationship. Now that's a simple dharana, right? It's a simple dharana of the Srimad that Baba gives us, that you don't have to prove yourself. You don't have to create a conflictual situation trying to prove yourself. Let go. Let it be for the time being. Time will prove it. God knows what's in your heart. So I have used Baba's knowledge, Baba's teachings in that particular situation. And what that makes me feel is very close to me. I then feel that really I have gained that place in Baba's heart because of my heart, because of something that I did according to his Srimad. Right? So when I follow his directions, his guidance, it becomes easier and easier for me to follow his heart. Otherwise, even though Baba doesn't say anything to me, but it's my own conscience that comes against me. So when this person is saying my karma is from the past, of course we all have karma from the past, but the karma of this time is what is most important. So if I can elevate my karmas on a day-to-day basis, don't worry about what I have done way back in the past. But now, at this time, following, understanding Baba's knowledge, following his teachings, following his Srimad, living according to the principles of purity, automatically makes me feel very, very close to him, seated on his heart. Seated on his heart means that he will do what I cannot do. In other words, I don't have to think about, I can only do this. But he will protect me. He will give his hand. He'll make sure that I'm comfortable. He will do the healing part. So it's a very, very beautiful relationship of sitting in his heart. But the important thing is how close and aligned am I to Baba, his virtues, his qualifications, his personality, and his teachings.
So beautiful. Thank you. There's another question. When there is tension in some situation, in a center or somewhere else, can we interfere in that or let it pass?
Right. It's, we come from a culture or a background where we like to fix everything, right? And fix it fast. And what I have learned over time is, some of the ways in which we try to fix actually creates more problem, more tension than fixing it. So I have found that the best thing to do for me, unless of course if I'm really directly involved in something, then I need to definitely think of, changing my ways. But otherwise, I think it's best because that only creates more of a tension, right? So becoming neutral, becoming peaceful, and as much as possible to look at both the sides with the vision of love and understanding, and also give time, in terms of for the healing and for things to get better. Everything takes time. We have to be patient. We have to be trusting to know that Baba's ways eventually work. It may take a little bit longer, eventually it does. And it's not to say that you don't take action. Sometimes you can take action. Sometimes you can't reach, or wouldn't say that point, but at least inform people around, especially your seniors, and let them aware, and you might get a good guidance what to do, what not to do. But directly to run into an intervention doesn't usually, make it work, is what I have found. A little bit patient, a lot of yoga, and then of course say the right things at the right time. Don't take the law in your hands, of course, but say that. Right?